Hello, everyone. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Welcome to this edition of Sisters of Wellness SOW. This program designed to introduce you to some incredible women who are doing incredible things in their communities as well as across the globe, which brings me to Renee Bobb. Talk about a global entrepreneur in Nashville, Tennessee. And so, Renee, you guys have had some flooding there. So first of all, thank God that you're safe and dry.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me here. Appreciate it.
And our hearts and prayers do go out to all of those families who have lost loved ones. My brother Reggie, who's a nurse there in Nashville, sent me a picture of one of his friends' farms, and it's just completely gone. Yeah. So a lot of devastation on top of dealing with COVID. So our prayers are with those fellow Americans in Nashville and Middle Tennessee where the devastating flooding happened. Renee Bobb, you own a basketball team. A women's basketball team in Nashville. That's amazing in and of itself. You are an incredible entrepreneur. You're a coach. You're an author. You teach other people how to write and publish their books. You are just an amazing woman, and you've received so many awards over the years. Thank you for carving out a little bit of time to be with us and to share it with our audience this evening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. You know, it's interesting when you think about all the stuff that you do, it really hits you when somebody else shares the things that you do. And I always say at this age in my life, I have the empty nest syndrome where I feel so free to do and be any of those things I desire. So I'm happy to be here.
So you, as we talked about, we're not only are people dealing with the weather, but of course the virus, this Delta variant. But you didn't escape COVID. You had COVID too, so we thank God that you have recovered from that. How did you manage with your business with COVID?
Yeah, it was a shock that I actually got COVID because I followed all the rules. You know, I stayed away from individuals. I wore the mask. I actually wore gloves, and I still end up getting COVID. And the great thing about me is that I'm a very healthy individual. So I don't take any medication at the age of 55 for anything, which is such a blessing. But when I started feeling bad, it was on Veterans Day, on November 11th. I was doing a workshop, started feeling a little ill, and I decided to go get tested. I went to the emergency room, to the VA hospital. And then, back then it was just coming out. There wasn't a lot of information about it. But, they tested me and the test came back that I definitely had COVID. And I was down for 17 days. I'm talking about sick. And of course, nobody wants to visit you because, you're sick as well. But, it gave me an opportunity to really take a step back and identify what are some of the other things that I can do. Was it some of the foods that I could eat to take better care of my body? Can I do a little bit more exercising? But the main thing that helped me to get through COVID was my brain. It was my thoughts. And I had to really begin to shift my thinking and really believe that I'm going to make it through this process and then do the things that I can do in my power in order to be able to take care of myself. So during those 17 days, things were terrible, but the business did extremely well. And the reason why my business did very well is because I have systems in place. I believe in creating systems so that your business runs, whether you're running the business or not.
That is amazing. With all of the other things that you've done, let me just say also, thank you for your service to our country, a retired Navy person, and you work with veterans. But before we start talking about the work that you do with veterans and getting them up and going in business, you have a workshop that's coming up tomorrow, Tuesday, for aspiring authors. And you feel like that 1 in 4 people have a book in them?
That's absolutely
1 in 5. What's the statistic?
Yeah. It's actually 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Oh, I got the numbers.
They desire.
4 out of 5 people desire to write a book.
That's correct. Yes. And so the interesting thing is that even though they have the desire, A lot of people just feel like maybe their story's not good enough. They don't have the skill set to write. They don't know enough about the writing industry. So that kind of holds them back. And that's really what inspired me to want to be able to do these monthly workshops to educate people on how to write, market, and publish their books. So yes, we're having one tomorrow, and it starts at 6 p.m. Central Time. And the goal is really to provide information, tools, and resources to teach people how to write, market, and publish their own books. So in the 20 years that I've been in the industry, I've actually published 17 books. I have 2 books that I just recently released this week. One came out on Sunday, the other one I released, Saturday and Sunday. And it's a journal. It's a financial planner where people have the opportunity to use this tool to get their finances in order. So I'm a different kind of writer. I write to educate, I write to inspire, and I write to give people tools that they can use to change their lives.
So Renee, this workshop that is tomorrow, that I will be attending, you do this workshop every month. So those who are watching, is it on the same Tuesday every month?
Oh, no, I wish that was the case. It kind of varies depending on my schedule, but I really make a commitment. And I've been doing this for many, many years. And before the pandemic, we were doing them live here in Nashville, Tennessee. And then, of course, since COVID, we've taken them online. But even now with the new Delta variants, we're actually doing an online training. So again, the goal is to really, provide people with information so they feel inspired and motivated, but they feel confident to take that step to write their book.
Renee Bobb is certainly an inspiration to so many people. You've helped hundreds of people publish books. You had COVID. You are a business coach, and you said because of the systems that you have in place, your businesses did better during the pandemic and during the time that you had COVID. How in the world is that possible, Renee?
Yeah, it's all about pivoting. And so if we're paying attention and we're really doing some research, I'm not talking about all the drama and all the fear that they're preaching on TV. But if we take some time to do some serious research, when we saw the pandemic coming up, there were certain things that we can actually, have gotten into position so that regardless of what's going on, the business actually still goes. So one of the things that I do is a lot of seminars and workshops on different subject areas. But I knew years ago the importance of recording the content that I teach and also diversifying the type of clients that I work with. So way back in 2008, unfortunately, myself and my 2 amazing children, who are adult entrepreneurs now, which is another story, we got caught up in the recession. And unfortunately, 95% of my revenue was coming from people. And so when people started having issues, guess who else had issues? I began to have issues. So in 2008, I made the decision that I was going to diversify how our revenues are actually coming to me. So what I mean by that is that I have individual people that are clients. I have small business owners that are clients. I have corporations. I have nonprofits. I have organizations. And I have colleges and universities. So by diversifying the way that revenues come to me in the work that I do, I was able to create a system that kind of runs on its own, whether I'm doing it or not. Great example would be a college wanted me to come in and teach financial literacy. And so I could have physically done the training, but of course, during that time, I wasn't feeling well. So I was able to take the recordings that I did in the past, and I was able to provide them with the recordings, and the students were able to go through the training, and the university ended up purchasing a copy of my book for every student that actually went through the training. So you see, that's a way of again, creating a system where you do something one time and it keeps feeding you over and over again.
So the university has purchased your book. Are you looking to replicate that with other universities?
Oh, let's get a little bit deeper. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely correct. So what I ended up doing was getting one of my virtual assistants to start reaching out to all the colleges and universities and sharing exactly what it is that I did in order to duplicate that exact system. So you see, it's not me picking up the phone. I did have to provide the script. I did have to provide what it is that I was looking for, but my virtual assistant is the one that was able to do all of that work to kind of put me in position to take advantage of some of those opportunities.
your virtual assistant. I was just looking at an article this morning that people have become so accustomed to working from home that bosses are now concerned that they're going to have trouble getting people back into the offices. Talk about how entrepreneurs who are trying to navigate and trying to pivot, how do they engage this network of virtual people to do various things that need to be done for their businesses?
And that's a really good question. And you are doing a great job at it with this particular platform. So it's looking at those online platforms, using those online tools in order to be able to reach your particular target audience. So the wonderful thing about the internet is that the internet is 24/7. So if you're someone that can send out messages in the evening and then make phone calls during the day, that's perfect. But the interesting thing, those that did very well during these times are the ones that were able to pivot, the ones that were willing to be able to do things different. Like I share with you, I do podcasts, I do, Zoom training. I used to do teleseminars. So covering all the different bases, and you don't necessarily have to go into a bookstore and get a copy of my book because all of my books are electronic as well. So you've got to figure out a way to be able to navigate and do things different. Another thing that I would encourage you is to look at those things that are booming. What were some of those industries that did extremely well in the last, let's say, 18 months? You had companies like DoorDash, where they were actually delivering food items to individuals' homes.
Mhm.
So is it possible that you create some sort of software system that supports those individuals? Do you have some sort of resource, some sort of tool, or something else that can support what it is that they're already doing in an industry that's already doing very well? All these signs on the store doors that are saying help wanted, we're hiring people, we'll give bonuses. As an entrepreneur, that should seem like a gold mine to you. Because again, you don't necessarily have to go into that company as an employee. You can go into that company as an independent contractor where they don't have to take care of the medical, the dental. You can do all that stuff for yourself, but you're able to ask for a higher dollar amount because you're able to provide a solution to their problem. The solution is they don't have enough employees to do the job, but maybe you have a system or a process that can go in there and do the same job that 2 or 3 employees can actually do. So you got to pivot and you got to do things a little bit different.
You are a coach, a business coach. How does that program work?
So as a business coach, most individuals, they come to me with the issue or a challenge. And so it's my job to be able to identify, well, what is the issue that you're dealing with? And then to create a step-by-step process in order for you to solve the problem and go to the next level. To give you a great example, I have a client that I'm working with right now, and one of her goals is to be able to generate more revenue. So what we did was we looked at how did you generate revenue over the last 12 months? Who are the clients that you service? Or were they men? Were they women? What were the age range? Also, what did they buy from you? And then how much did they spend with you? So we were able to create a little graph of the industries that she needs to focus on, the clients she needs to focus on, and then the products or services that she really needs to focus on, because those were the things that she was selling. Once we identified that, we also looked at how did those individuals find her? How did those corporations find her? How did those customers find her? Once we identified that strategy as well, we put that on steroids, which means that we 10x'd it. So why would you be, an example, posting on LinkedIn when 95% of your clients come from Facebook? Doesn't make sense. You spend your energy and your time where your clients are finding you, as opposed to being spread all over the world on all these different platforms. So we can look at your historical data to be able to see what's working and then do more of what's working.
Well, and that is really, really mind-boggling for a lot of business owners who know how to do what they know how to do. And then you throw this social media aspect in, and they don't know which one to be on. And it is very overwhelming sometimes and very time consuming. How you've been doing all of this a long time. How is it? What's been key for you in being able to shift and to duck and dodge and still end up on your feet?
I would have to say several different things. One, I think my environment. I mean, growing up in New York, I think in New York, it's like either you survive, thrive, or you don't, right? And so, being raised in Staten Island, New York, in Stapleton, right, in that environment, you had to learn certain things in order to be able to maneuver. And as an adult, I've been able to take those same skill sets and incorporate them into business. But I am a futuristic person. And what I mean by that is that I love studying what the world is going to look like in 5 years from now. And then in looking at, 5 years from now, my question becomes, how do I make sure there's a need for my product and service in 5 years,
Hmm.
in 10 years? So you have to make sure that there's some relevancy for you in the marketplace. So since I spend time doing that research, I make sure that I'm always positioning myself to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and to make sure I don't get stuck or I don't get stagnant.
How much did the military play a role in that? I mean, it's like your life and your life experiences have come together like a jigsaw puzzle. An athlete, being able to see your peripheral, developing that peripheral vision and that vision down the court, and the military strategy, and then being from New York, being a woman, being a Black woman, you're making it all work.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And what's interesting is that I had an amazing role model, my mom. I mean, she was that individual that she was always doing something entrepreneurial, even though she also had a full time job. She also was very instrumental in the community and working with individuals and exposing, myself and others to a world outside of living in that environment. So serving in the United States Navy really gave me the opportunity to build that toughness, that thick skin, to be able to, okay, Renee, you're dealing with the situation. We're not going to allow this to get you down. So maybe years ago, it took me a week to kind of bounce back. Nowadays, it just takes me a couple of minutes to kind of maneuver and get myself together. So my primary reason for serving in the military was, of course, playing basketball. And I actually received a scholarship from high school to play basketball at Cheney State University in Pennsylvania. And so when my time was up from playing basketball there was no WNBA at the time. So you had two choices. Either you play in the military or you go overseas and play ball. So I actually joined the United States Navy and I served as a telecommunications operator. And the beautiful thing is that I got the chance to serve my country and play basketball. And when I made the transition out of the military, the WNBA was just starting. So I went to Madison Square Garden, all geared up, ready. I was so excited. And I tried out for the first ever, not to tell my age, the first ever WNBA team ever. I didn't make it, but it's come full circle because now with my basketball team, I actually prepare players to play international basketball or play in the WNBA.
And that's a whole show.
Yeah.
You owning a basketball team, and it's not just some rooster poot basketball team.
No, no.
You won. Tell us about the championship that you guys won.
Absolutely. So I took an all-star basketball team to Puerto Rico to play in the Puerto Rico International Basketball Tournament. And we went over there. We beat every team that we played, some of them by 20 and 30 points, right?
What?
And so we end up winning the championship. And from that, three of the players that played with me got offers to play in Puerto Rico, but two of them have contracts to play in Portugal coming up here in September. And what's interesting about these players, three of them are actually entrepreneurs. So I get to put support around these individuals to make sure that once their basketball career is over, they have a plan beyond basketball. So you see how that too has come full circle as well, being able to make sure that they're prepared as entrepreneurs.
So you have a basketball team. How are you recruiting? How are you in all that you're doing, how do you find time to work with a basketball team, and not just as an absentee owner, but as you said, I'm also coaching them so that they can do something when bouncing the ball is over.
That's exactly correct. And what's interesting, I can remember when I first acquired the basketball team, I was washing uniforms, washing towels, sweeping the gym floor, getting the referees, picking up players, like doing all those different things. And thank God over time it's evolved. And so what's different now is that I do have a support system in place, but a lot of the recruiting comes from agents that actually have basketball players that they're working with that are looking to go to that next level. And then there's a couple of other basketball leagues for women, professional basketball leagues for women, that I'm able to recruit players from as well.
So you had to raise money to purchase this franchise. And then, Renee, I seriously cannot wrap my mind around how you're getting all of this done in the course of the day. We're talking to Renee Bobb in Nashville, Tennessee. She is the author of 17 books. Plus, how many other books have you helped people publish?
Thousands upon thousands over the years.
Wow.
And what's interesting is somebody called me recently from Staten Island, and they were in the bookstore getting a book, and they opened the book and they saw, I want to say thank you to Renee Bobb. So a lot of the authors that I work with, they at least, kind of give me a shout out, which I'm so grateful for and very humble to receive that. But, the key with the self-publishing is that once you begin the process of writing, you put a team around you to make sure you get the book done. An editor, graphic designer to do the book cover, graphic designer to lay out and design. And then we actually published the book on Amazon, because when people are thinking about buying books, guess where they go? They go to Amazon, and then they go to your website.
Well, do you work with people on the strategy for being on the Amazon bestseller list and all that kind of good stuff?
That is correct. And so one of my books, Get a Job Now, Creative Strategies to Secure Employment, actually became an Amazon bestseller during COVID, which is another story. And so, yes, I really spend time educating and working with individuals, to build up their platform, because they think of it as selling. And I don't think of it as selling. I think of it as spreading your message, getting your book into the hands of individuals where those individuals will be blessed. So we actually go through a step-by-step strategy to help individuals to get on Amazon bestselling lists and New York Times bestsellers and so on and so forth. But the key is writing a really good book and having a strong marketing and advertising campaign. It's all about the marketing and advertising.
And is that part of what will be part of the workshop tomorrow night?
Absolutely, because a lot of the authors that I work with now, before we write the first sentence, the first word, the first paragraph, we actually come up with a marketing plan. How are you going to market and advertise the book, especially if you desire to sell the book? So recently, a couple of months ago, myself and my good friend Terry Liggins, who's a ghostwriter, we came together. We actually created this 8-week training program to help people to master their masterpiece and write their books. And then we actually strategically partnered with Les Brown, the motivational speaker. Yeah. So he came and he shared with individuals how to monetize your message, like how to tell your story and write your story, and then get that story into the hands of individuals that would love to learn more about what you want to do. But also he talked about how you can make a living, like how you can actually generate revenue by writing, marketing, and publishing your own book.
Because people can feel like the writing and the publishing is the toughest part, but there are a lot of garages and trunks that are full of books.
Yes, and then
that's not the toughest part.
I have husbands calling me saying, Renee, my wife, she printed 5,000 books and we have 4,090 in our garage. Please come help me. So you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely right.
So tomorrow night, the workshop starts at 6 Central Time. Mm-hmm. And how do people find out? And is it too late to sign up for for this particular workshop?
Oh, no, it's not too late to sign up, and they can go to bookpublishinglady.com, and the information is up there about how to register, and it's not too late. And so when people register, we are mailing them a book publishing toolkit. So inside the toolkit is everything you need to write, market, and publish your own book. So they'll get that once they actually register. We'll mail that to them. But you'll have all the materials you need to be prepared for tomorrow's training. And then tomorrow, I also have an editor coming on, Miss Tracy Johnson. And your editor is your best friend. And that's why I have Tracy coming to the workshop tomorrow.
So just in case you forget, you can just Google Renee Bobb. She's on LinkedIn, she's on Facebook, to be able to get in touch with her, to find out more about the amazing things that she's doing, her coaching business, her entrepreneur coaching business, as well as her coaching business to help people who want to put their thoughts on paper and publish and speak. You talked about Les Brown, and he has such a phenomenal story, and he laughs so hard about his stories that it's just wonderful to hear Les laugh. When I'm watching him speak, he makes me laugh because he's laughing. But such a such serious work that Les has done and been able to do. So that's wonderful that he was there to help encourage the people that you are working with. As we are still reeling in another wave of COVID, you recovered from COVID. You said your business did better during COVID than it was doing before because of the systems that you have in place. Is that one of the things that you work with people on now, is how to get systems in place?
Absolutely. And that's where I spend the bulk of my time, educating people, and looking outside of their current market, outside of your community, because now you're at home. And so you have access, if you have technology, you have access to the world where you could actually broaden your horizon and be able to reach more people. One of the bigger contracts that I currently have is with a company called Bunker Labs, which is a nonprofit agency that works with military veterans and their spouses and the veteran community, the military connected community, to help them to start and grow their own business. So, when everything happened, unfortunately, with George Floyd, Bunker Labs made a commitment to do something about it. So I launched the Black Entrepreneur Workshop Series, where I created a safe place for Black entrepreneurs to be able to come and really have a conversation about what's going on as an entrepreneur. A part of that process, too, was me providing them with a list of grants that were available for them to be able to apply for. So to date, there's 11 of us that have received a little bit over $460,000 in grant funding.
And just saying that word, though, Renee, for so many people who are watching is, I don't know how to write a grant. How do you find people to help you write grants?
Yeah. And I love that question. And because a lot of the grants that they were able to win, it was just an application that you do online. So to give you a great example, when I acquired the Music City Icons professional basketball team, I didn't want to use my own money. Got sick of doing that. As an entrepreneur, we tend to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I actually did a crowdfunding campaign on iFund Women. So I always recommend women entrepreneurs check out iFund Women, because not only do they have an amazing crowdfunding platform, but they also have grants. So I am the recipient of the American Express Top 100 Black Women Entrepreneurs. And that recognition, that grant was a $25,000 grant. And so, there were 100 of us, Black women, that received those funding. And it was an application that you had to fill out. So what's interesting about the grant process is that, of course, do your due diligence and do your research, but we've got to be in it in order to win it, And so there are a couple of different women's business centers right now that have some grant funds available for seasoned and startup entrepreneurs as well. But we have to do the research, which is challenging. So I always put together every single month a list of over 50 to 60 different grants that entrepreneurs can apply for. And so my goal is to share that list with individuals so that they at least know where to go in order to apply for grants. And then if you need a grant writer, there are other resources that you can tap into, like colleges and universities. Here in Nashville, we have the Center for Nonprofit Management. I mean, there's so many different resources that you can tap into once you know what you're doing and why you're doing and how much money you actually would like to receive.
Royal Colbert, Dr. Royal Colbert is watching, and he asked if you would speak more about virtual assistants. And I think you may have talked about that some, but just getting your virtual team put together.
Yes. And so first thing I had to do is that I had to look at my days. I had to look at what are the things that I do to generate revenue? What are the things that I do to market and advertise? What type of admin work do I do? So I had to get clear about my day and what I do. Once I was crystal clear about the things that I do, I started looking at what are some of the things that I can take off my plate and give to someone else. Once I was crystal clear about those tasks, I then wrote out what does someone else need to do in order to fulfill these particular tasks. And so one of the platforms that I do use is Fiverr. And I go to fiverr.com and I have quite a few, I have like 13 different individuals that I work with for different projects.
Uh-huh.
But I have to be crystal clear about the tasks that I want. And so after a while, you'll get to a place where your virtual assistants are doing things that are income generating activities. And so I always try to make sure that I get people that know what they're doing. I make sure that I'm clearly explaining the tasks that I need them to do. And then I'm crystal clear about the results, which means I'm not going to give them something and not be clear about the deliverables. So you have to be crystal clear about the deliverables. But there's a lot of great other platforms like Upwork, Freelancer that you can go to. Wise Advise, a veteran-owned company where you can find a virtual assistant to be able to help you. And the beautiful thing is that they're virtual. They're all over the world. So it's not someone sitting at a desk with you actually doing the work. So the secret element is you have to be able to clearly articulate what it is that you want them to do and be clear about the deliverables at the end.
Loretta McNary has joined us and she said, great topic. I must introduce you ladies. Loretta has a media network. So download her app, McNary Media Network. Loretta is in Memphis and she's worldwide. I forgot how many markets. Loretta, put your information in the chat so that people can know how to get in touch with you as well. And, this is so uplifting for me to be able to speak with my sisters and just be so encouraged and inspired by what you all are doing. And Loretta, I'm sure would love to interview you. Loretta, she has a basketball team. She owns a basketball team. So one of her television stations is going to be is a sports station.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
So you guys need to connect.
Absolutely. Because, I'm working with a lot of agents and earlier I was sharing with you about Bunker Labs, but we actually had the Chicago Bulls and Crown Royal to sponsor the Black Workshop series. So we got to interview Thaddeus Young.
What?
So he was able to share information about how, as an athlete and an investor, how he's been able to do amazing things off the court.
Wow. You have to come back many, many more times. I really do try to keep the show around 30 minutes, but we could have talked about any one of these topics for 30 minutes. I would love to have a show with you and some of your basketball players.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, let's set that up, because how many times do we get to hear from the owner of a basketball team? Renee, high five, my sister.
Thank you.
You're doing it. You're doing it. You're doing it. I just thank you very much for being willing to share your gifts and talents with all of us. and the opportunity for people to sit under your cup. Just get the overflow. I just want to be the saucer and get the overflow.
There you go.
MMN is a global streaming platform. She's in 12 countries.
Wow.
Yeah. 12 countries. Isn't that wonderful?
It is. So we definitely have to connect. We'd love that.
Yeah. Renee, I'm looking forward to being a part of your class tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Central Time. If you are someone pregnant with a book or some books, please join us tomorrow for Renee's class on writing. How long is the class?
90 minutes.
90-minute workshop. The cost of that is
$69.95.
$69.95. And I know it's going to be so well worth all of it. Royal says, thank you. Dr. Royal Colbert says, thank you. I am not pregnant, but I do have some books.
You got that right. You got that right.
You know what I mean. I'm not pregnant.
This has been wonderful. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
And thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. And we'll talk some more. Don't go away. I want to thank all of you for watching tonight. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for supporting people in your community who are doing things. And now with the internet, we can support people around the globe and use this opportunity to connect each other so that we can all grow and prosper. Renee, my sister.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Actually, we'll see you on Thursday for the Timbuktu Report, and then back here again on Monday for Sisters of Wellness, where it is our goal to inspire and to bring women together so that we can lift each other up. I hope you have been uplifted this evening. I'm Pamela Marshall at the Wellness Radio TV and at the Wellness Radio TV podcast. Remember, there is healing at the well. Make it a great moment. We'll see you next time.